Welcome to this week's reading vlog. So since the last vlog, I've finished a few books. First, I finished Chuck Tingle's Bury Your Gaze, which is technically horror, but there is a mystery element in it as some weird stuff is happening and the main character, Misha, is being stalked. And although he is being stalked by the characters that he has written, because he is a screenwriter for horror movies and his characters are coming to life and stalking him, I would say that it could be in the mystery category or mystery adjacent, because we have to figure out why this is happening and or who is doing this to him and is able to do this to him. So yeah, I would say mystery adjacent. I'm a wimp, know that from the start, so this was hard for me to read, and it was pretty graphic in places with the exact thing that I do not like to read in horror, which is body gross stuff. I do really, really well with ghosts. I do really, really well with scary haunted houses, psychological stuff, and things that go bump in the night. But when they go that extra step and it's a scary movie in my head, which makes it worse than just watching a scary movie, which I don't watch, yeah, that was not fun. But there were really only 2 scenes that were just like, ugh. And I got through the rest of it. I ended up giving it 3.5, 3.6 stars. Not so much a fan of the writing style. Could have been edited more. It was a quick read. It wasn't that it was too long or too lengthy or anything like that, but it definitely could have dealt with some editing. So that was the first one. The second one is a book that I've been reading basically forever, which is Murder Your Employer, McMaster's Guide to Homicide by Rupert Holmes. And this is about a guy named Cliff who has the worst boss in the world. This guy is a danger to the public. He is a serial harasser of his female employees and potentially led to the death of Cliff's mentor as well. And Cliff is an aeronautic engineer. He's designed an airplane, and then his boss has basically made modifications to the plan that are going to endanger the passengers, that could very easily lead to a catastrophic failure that will result in crashes. And in the very first chapter, Cliff has been fired because he's been speaking up about what his boss has done, and he just can't take it anymore. So he decides to do away with his boss by pushing him off of a subway platform in New York. Now, this is taking place in the 1950s. And Cliff is unsuccessful, and when he is running, trying to get away from his botched attempt on his employer's life, these 2 police officers, kind of Men in Black vibes, grab him and basically give him his 2 options, one of which is to either be turned over to the police or to come with them and go to this school academy called McMaster's, where he will be taught to be successful in what he wants to accomplish. And honestly, Cliff thinks that this is crazy talk, but he doesn't want to get turned over to the police, so he agrees. They drug him, put him in the back of a car, and take him away. When he comes to, he is hooded and they are still in a vehicle. He doesn't know where they are. He doesn't know how many days it's been. And they arrive at this amazing and glorious and beautiful campus. where he is introduced to the dean of the school, and he is again told, you're going to study and come up with a new plot, and we'll help you devise it, and you will be successful. Or else, if you are not successful, you will flunk, and we will get rid of you because you will know too much about the school. Now, those are pretty risky odds. Cliff is a little concerned, but he still tries to get away, and he's unsuccessful. So he settles in and he becomes a student at the academy, for better or for worse. Now, we're told in an introduction that is written from the perspective of the dean that we are going to get not only Cliff's story, but we're also going to get that of two female students, Gemma and Dulcie. Gemma works in a hospital in England, and she's being blackmailed by her employer for something that she has done. And she is desperate to get rid of this woman because she's making her life miserable and is constantly holding over her head that she's going to turn her in. And then there's Dulcie, who is a starlet in the Hollywood system, and she wants to kill the studio boss because she's not getting parts anymore because he found out that she had a dalliance with somebody he does not like. Now, I enjoyed this book. I thought the writing was great. I thought the atmosphere, the setting was great. And actually, when they're at the school, it's almost tongue-in-cheek. And so you don't think about the fact that they're being taught how to do these things and what's going to be the result of this. And I was good while they were on campus and we were going through the motions at the school. There was a little subplot there with another male student that was a little unnecessary, but I just let it go. And then we have to follow them through, put in action, and it lost me a little bit there because I understood why Cliff and Gemma wanted to do what they wanted to do, and Cliff's boss for sure. You could argue it was for the greater good. If this airplane was built, it could be, lead to horrific loss of life. But I don't know if that was the other reason why it was set in the 50s. Like there were no other ways for them to do or get out of these situations than taking matters into their own hands. I just found it very, very difficult to watch these people that I had grown to like become very methodical killing machines. And the plot about the studio head, I mean, our starlet was not facing jail time. She was just not getting roles. And yes, the studio head was a sleazy guy and he was doing some horrible things and taking advantage of people. But there's never a rationale to say, oh, they deserved it or they didn't deserve it when it comes to this type of situation. But if you had to look at the three scenarios, this was definitely far down the list versus the other two about going to this extreme because you weren't getting roles in Hollywood. And I know it's meant to be tongue-in-cheek and we're not supposed to take it seriously, but it just felt it went a little too far there for me. But that being said, I still gave it a 4.3. so I didn't hate it. Now on my Kindle, I am going to be finishing up a fantasy, The Gentleman and His Vowsmith, which is technically a fantasy. However, there is a mystery element. We're with Nick, who is the son of a duke, and this is definitely during the Victorian era. And we live in a world with magic, so Nick has magic, and it's very desirable for noble people to marry within the realm of magic. So people with magical abilities want to marry others with magical abilities, or they can use it as a mechanism for, in Nick's family's case, they're broke. And so Nick is up for the highest bidder because somebody's going to want to marry him because he's got magic. And so at the beginning of the story, we are aware that another noble family is coming to stay in the house and bringing Nick's potential wife, and a marriage contract is basically going to be ironed out over the next few weeks. Now, in this world, when that is happening, the two families and their agents go into seclusion together. So they basically go into lockdown in the house together, and nobody can leave because they don't want anything to basically interfere with the negotiations, right? No outside influences. And Nick's biggest concern, number one, is that he's gay, so he doesn't want to get married. And two, the love of his life is acting as the agent for this girl's family who he is coming to negotiate this contract with. So he doesn't want to see the love of his life, and he really doesn't want to have the love of his life negotiating his marriage contract for him. And that's how we begin. Now, in this world that we live in, Nick's family is very sad, and his house is got a lot of gothic ambiance to it. His mother has is suffering from some mental issues. She's kept away basically most of the time with a female servant who takes care of her. And his father has these injuries on his face that he wears large dark glasses to cover. And I guess this occurred years ago when Nick's uncle was killed by an automaton that went crazy in the house. And post that incident, all of the automatons which his uncle built, it was his vocation, building these things, they've all been basically pulled apart, and all of their scrap parts have been left in this one closed off part of the house. Now the family doesn't have any money, so the house has basically been crumbling around them. And now this very wealthy family is coming because they want to build a relationship and have Nick's magic abilities brought into their family line. And so Nick is engaged, or he's going to be to Leaf. And Leaf doesn't want to get married either. She just has no interest. She would rather go off and start a school. She doesn't want to get married. She doesn't want to have kids. She's just like, I'm fine on my own. I just want to be a woman of knowledge. She has tried to convince her father not to do this, and he basically tells her, hey, I'm going to give you money, you can start a school, but you're going to marry this guy. Almost immediately, as soon as the families are sequestered together, Nick's valet is killed. He falls down some stairs, and Nick immediately assumes that something is not right. And she's very into gothic books, and she loves mysteries, and she wants to play detective. So she sort of goes along for the ride with him. They like each other. They've actually resigned themselves to, if I have to get married to somebody I'm not interested in, might as well be you. You seem like a nice person. We could be friends together. At the same time, there's definitely a lot of stuff going on with Nick and Dashiell, his love of his life, who's there to negotiate the contract. And so we see that little subplot. I don't think I'm breaking my vow of no romantasy. I wouldn't say that this is heavily romantasy. I do think that this is more mystery than romantasy, because the Valet is only the first of the bodies that start stacking up. And with Leaf and Nick, we are trying to figure out who is doing this and why they are doing this. I am just a little over 60% done with it. This is for a review, and I would say that I'm getting to the point where it's been going a little too slowly. It's too long, and at 60%, I'm ready for this to start being wrapped up. Let's get to some action, and let's get through this book. So that's what we're going to be reading, and so let's read. This is Gina editing from the future to tell you that I never gave you the final review of A Gentleman and His Phasma. So let's do that quickly. Clover's here to help, always. I did finish it. I did not love it. I have posted my review on it, and I basically gave it 2 stars, which for me is a low rating. It is very infrequent that I give a book less than 3 stars. At least it wasn't a 1 star. So I did get 2, which is saying something. But if we were to look at my rating scale as though I was giving letter grades at school, it would be a D book. It really made no sense to me in the end. The ending was very, very convoluted. And I thought for the longest time, as I was getting closer and closer and closer to the end, and I really did not know where it was going, that maybe I was mistaken in this being a standalone, and perhaps it was setting up for a second book, but it did not. It resolved, which was its only saving grace. And so, yeah, it just was not a good book, and could not recommend it. So that's it on that. Thanks for joining me and for following along in this weird reading vlog that took me quite a bit of time to pull together, and at least got this one finished. So it was good, and I was able to write the review, and it's all good from that standpoint. So again, thanks for joining me. Tell your pets I said hi, and I'll see you next time.